Hey, this is Tracy with Tracy Talks. Welcome. Hey, I love getting feedback on my episodes. So apparently, some of the feedback was I'm hating on Capricorns, and that is far from the truth. We are more than our sun sign. We are so much more than this one planet that is in our chart. So much of mainstream astrology has this sun sign interpretation. Those are the readings that you find in the newspapers or in the magazines. Remember how you're flipping through a magazine and you get towards the end and it has these readings. And most of us are drawn to our sun sign. That's how we learned astrology. That's where we started this curiosity. We are every sign. Every sign is in our chart. Some of those aspects are not as predominant as other aspects. And so this friend had reached out and was like, so you're hating on Capricorns? No, I'm not hating on Capricorns. We have a lot of planets that are currently traveling through Capricorn. Capricorn energy is great energy for setting foundations. It is a great energy to build this daily process and routine. So when we think about Capricorns, they are really good at establishing efficient routines. Regardless of any noise and anything else that's going on, your Capricorn friends are going to be able to pull out these most effective parts of a process and implement that and create this and then live by it. They're actually going to live by the process and not just create it for everybody else. Sometimes those processes, though, don't interact well with someone who is emotional or has a more free-flowing energy. Capricorns are known for being very strict and regimented. And sometimes that energy is very necessary. And then other times it can be stifling for some people. This message that I was expressing to my friend is we are all of the planets. We are all of these energies. Because she was confused how we actually connected. She's a Capricorn sun. She was confused then on what level are we actually connecting? Since if you just look at earth and air and fire and water and you just simply look at how we connect based on the elements. And I told her it's so much more layered than that. When you are born, we take a snapshot of all of the planets in the sky. They all have significant and relevant meaning. And that's how we can get this narrow vision of where we fit in life. When we just look at our sun sign and we just think, this is who I am and these are the kind of people that I connect with and this is what I need in life, it's a very narrow vision and version of who we are. Yes, you are your sun sign. You're also a rising sign. So many of us operate from our moon sign. Venus can be a significant influencer in how all of those energies connect together and how they communicate with each other. And then our Mars sign is how we take action. When it shows up in a water sign, those Mars traits don't seem to operate in the same way. Mars doesn't want to be in water. It doesn't want to be slowed down. It doesn't want to be in air. It doesn't want to think about logic and reason. Mars wants to be in a sign where it can just take assertive action and move forward. But that's not everybody. And when we talk about these signs, we talk about the characteristics in this most either positive interpretation or a negative interpretation. It's just as easy to focus on the negative qualities of Mars, how destructive, how warlike Mars can be. But when you are trying to create something in your life, you need to connect with that Mars that's going to get you up and help you find the energy, the motivation, and the courage to do something. That is your Mars. So we are all of these signs and symbols. We are all of them. And it's understanding how they layer together and how we connect. We can connect, each of us, on many different levels. It's not simply on this one aspect of us. And I find that is why synastry has become such a significant part in my life, is understanding how I do connect with someone and on what level. My Mercury is in Libra. I want a fair communication. I want communication that is going to be helpful, constructive. Have I been known to communicate very direct and assertively? Yes, I have. Because I am not just one symbol and one sign. There are places in our lives that want us to show up in one version of ourselves. And I don't see it that way. I don't see that we are just one version. We're multifaceted. And when we understand that, and we understand, it's like we have cut off part of ourselves that we didn't like, that we were told by someone else, an adult, probably when we were a child, that they didn't like these qualities when they showed up in us. They didn't like how you communicated. They didn't like how you were distracted. They didn't like how you just wanted to daydream. And when we are children and somebody continually reinforces that those qualities in us aren't positive and they aren't welcomed, then little by little we feel bad about that. And when that energy shows up, we can feel ashamed, we can feel bad about ourselves. And then we try to just focus ourselves into one little narrow version and one path. I look back at my rising sign, and there were times where I could be very expressive and assertive and loud and perform. This was not welcomed. It was shut down at every opportunity. My family of origin did not know how to handle my rising sign. My behaviors were something that they have never experienced. They don't have those characteristics prominent in their chart. They have that sign, and when it is amplified by a transit, but it wasn't something that they experienced on a daily basis. Therefore, they didn't like it. They wanted to shut it down. They wanted to make sure that I acted like they did. That's where astrology has helped me embrace all of these different parts of me. That I'm not just my sun sign. I'm not just this one characteristic, that there are so many layers to me. There's so many different parts of me, and they each connect together, and they have created this complex version of me. It's not just this trendy new age thing. It's a different language. It's a way for someone to look at themselves and understand that there are so many different ways to look at how we show up into the world and how those communicate together, interact together. There's also this language oftentimes about planets being in an exaltation, in a good position, or in detriment. One of my teachers has a really great way of talking about planets in this way. We see these hard aspects in our chart and we just get frustrated because we think that we can't have our dreams, we can't have what we want because we were born under this sign that is in detriment. It doesn't operate in its healthy expression or this easy expression. When I listen to Jen talk about detriment and exaltation, she talks about it in a way where, when you travel to another country and you don't understand the language, and if you have an exalted planet, then you navigate through that country with ease. You don't have any trouble getting a cab. You don't have any trouble converting money. You don't have any trouble communicating. But when you have a planet in detriment, you may take detours. You have a different route. You have to navigate through this area where you don't understand. And when this happens, you oftentimes have a better story in life. Like, what kind of story is it when you just show up to a party and everything works out perfectly and you meet the love of your life? Instead of you show up to a party, you were late getting there, you didn't have enough money, and you had to negotiate, and you had all of these obstacles that you had to overcome. And our life really is more enriched when we have obstacles to overcome, when we have to learn things, when we have to struggle a little bit. And that's something to keep in mind as well. I really love that of looking at some of these planets that once I thought were bad as, okay, I just have some things to overcome. I have more things to learn. I have this richer, fuller life because I've had to work in some of these areas. So the next time you read a horoscope somewhere online, realize that you are so much more than that sun sign. There's so much more to you. There's so much more going on. And oftentimes they don't make sense because we don't realize that there's a fuller picture of who we are. Thank you for listening today. And I hope that this made things a little bit clearer for you. Until next time, we meet again. Bye for now.